friends. Welcome to the LeggLife podcast. My name is Adam.
My name is Sherry.
Sherry Beth, what episode is this?
149.
It is so crazy that we are one episode away from our 150th podcast.
Yep.
We started this and did not think we would do 150 episodes.
Well, we didn't have the best track record.
Our last podcast we tried, we did 3 episodes, I believe it was, and then stopped. And so the fact that we've made it to 150, I think is pretty darn impressive.
I do too.
So we'll have to
team.
We're going to have to think of something special to do for the 150th episode.
Okay.
We need to start thinking about that. But today is going to be one of those podcasts where we just kind of talk through a number of topics.
Yeah.
Asked you guys over on Instagram, what are some things you'd love to hear us talk about? What are some questions you have for us? Or maybe some topics that you would love for us to dive into a little?
Yeah.
And you guys, in just a couple of hours, gave us some great ideas. And we're going to go through some of them today. Some of them you guys asked us about, I think, are a little bit more in-depth and will require their own full podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But today is kind of a group of 4 questions that are not quite enough to be their own podcast, but that we did want to talk about.
Yeah.
Some questions, actually, that we've never gotten before.
Yeah.
And at this point on YouTube and here the podcast, it's difficult. It feels like it's difficult to get new questions. So kudos to you guys.
I was just saying, y'all just keep coming up with good questions.
And the question we're going to start with, I actually really love, and it's one that I'm sort of surprised we haven't really talked about. The question was, what do you want to do in retirement?
Yeah.
Gosh, what a good question.
It's a very good question.
So we are in our 40s.
43 and 44, almost 45.
Almost 45, halfway to 90. And so, that idea of retirement is approaching quicker and quicker. I think the reality, and you and I talked some about this, that I think retirement for us and even our generation may look a little bit different.
Will probably most likely look much different than our parents and grandparents.
Pensions are largely a thing of the past. Even Social Security, there's question on what that will be like for our generation and generations behind us. And so I think for us, it probably will require some element of working. The other thing is we're not rich.
Right.
We're
doing what we can to save for retirement, but at the same time, we're not going to have the nice monthly check. So
yeah, it's
going to be kind of up to us.
Yeah, and so I don't think we're going to, I don't think retirement for us, unless something happens,
right,
is going to be luxury and constant relaxation.
I think we're going to keep working until we can't anymore.
But I think for us, the question is, what are the kind of things we would want to do even in retirement age? So I'm going to change the question a little bit. So as we get to that age, what do you think you want retirement to look like, Sherry?
Yeah, so once we kind of retire from our quote unquote careers, I think that I've always wanted, I have before, but I would like to work in a bookstore. Shocking. But honestly, even now with my EDS and stuff, I can't be on my feet all day.
Yep.
And so I can't, working at something like a Barnes & Noble or something isn't really feasible for me, where I'm walking over this huge store or standing at the information desk. So I'm kind of thinking more of a small independent bookstore. And I don't know, that's just something I think I would enjoy doing.
Okay. Anything else when you think of jobs, other stuff that you would like to do?
Probably. I think that if I had the time, I would love to get back into some kind of crafty something. If I had the time and was able to make some kind of livable wage at it, I would love to have an Etsy shop or something like that.
Can I interest you in a beard oil company? I've got an idea for beard oil, Sherry.
Do you?
I do.
But yeah, honestly, something like that where I could be home and making things using my creative abilities, that would also help pay some bills.
I think for me, it's kind of similar. Not bookshop. I don't really have an interest in that.
What?
Yeah, shocking. People would come up and be like, hey, where's this book? I'm like, I don't know. Go find it your own damn self.
Whoa.
Sorry. Just Go find
No,
me.
you wouldn't. You would be excellent at customer service.
Here's my thing. I'm excellent at customer service. I am not excellent at helping people find things because I myself don't know where to find things.
That's true. I'm always like, it's in the dryer. And you're like, it's really not. And I go and it's in the dryer.
Yeah, see, that's my thing. And so it's like for me at a bookstore, if my job was helping people like locate things, I'd be miserable.
Yeah.
I think for me, what's one of the things I'm excited about with the coffee shop. You know, I used to be a bartender. I loved being a bartender. I used to be a pastor. Loved being a pastor. Largely because those are jobs where you get to interact a lot with people. And I, in retirement and in my, older years, whatever I do, I want it to be people focused. I want it to be time with people.
That sounds terrible.
See, but here's the reason I love that is I actually think that there has never been in the history of the world maybe a more lonelier generation, a more lonelier time.
Yeah.
Whereas people have 1,000 people they're connected to online, yet statistics around loneliness are higher than they've ever been. And so I think for me, what I want to do is like intentional relationship, intentional time with people. And even if that's like making a coffee at a coffee shop, sparking up a conversation, looking people in the eye, smiling, like, you know what I mean? Just something that...
You'd be very good at that.
Something, I agree. Something that just kind of, I don't know, feels purposeful. I don't know. I want to do things that matter. And maybe this is a flaw of mine because I often see people whose like focus is climbing a corporate ladder and, their answer to this question about retirement would be very different than ours because they've focused on making money. And so they're going to be able to have a comfortable old age. Whereas I feel like you and I in some ways are going to struggle, but our focus has always been on like making a better world rather than making a better life.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And
filling our life instead of filling our bank account.
Yeah. And so not even like filling our life. I mean, yes, I think that naturally happens, but just like making the world a better place.
Yeah.
And sometimes even to like the detriment of ourselves.
Yeah.
We probably have given away too much money. We probably have, it's like maybe we should have thought more about retirement, but, it's like we don't have kids. Who's going to take care of us? I have no freaking idea.
Right.
I know that's a weird thing to say, but like, I don't know. And so in retirement, I don't know. I think I want to keep that value. I want things that make a better, less lonely kind of world. And I think that has something to do with people.
Yep, I agree.
Obviously, we want to keep traveling. But here's the other thing. One of the podcasts that we want to do, we actually talked about this earlier, came from one of you, is sort of a deep dive into Sherry's EDS. Her Ehlers-Danlos.
Yeah.
But the thing is like you have some degenerative health issues.
Yep.
And how realistic will travel be in our retirement years?
Right. I have no idea.
We have no idea. And so it's part of the reason that we travel a lot now because we have the ability to travel now and like the physical capability to travel now. And so let's just do it while we can.
Right. But 20 years from now, I have no idea.
Who knows?
Right.
You actually made a comment earlier as we were talking about this that I thought was really interesting. You were talking about how you are a forward thinker, but how thinking about retirement and 20 years down the road is difficult because even like how different life looks now.
Yeah. So like I'm a forward thinker in that I'm always looking like 2 or 3 steps ahead and like possible outcomes for decisions made now and like what that could affect.
Yeah.
2 or 3 steps ahead. 20 plus years in the future, I have no idea because 20 years ago, if you had said that, you would be leading a nonprofit that works with trafficking survivors and that I'd be working for Princess Cruise Line, I would have been like, absolutely not.
Yeah. None of this was in our plan.
Absolutely not. I had no desire to work for like a large corporation. I love it now. I have no regrets. But 20 years ago, I would have been like, absolutely not.
You're a small business girl. You want to work
Yep.
for like small local family-owned businesses.
Yep.
Yeah. And
you were working in the hotel industry and like on a pretty good upward trajectory for that. And
Totally.
like taking a step, quote unquote, down the corporate ladder into a nonprofit world. We both of us would have been like, no, that's not the direction we want to go.
Yeah.
And so like, life throws you things and you just deal with them as they come. And I have no idea what our life is going to look like in 20 years.
Yeah, it's a really good
because
point.
it's so vastly different than it was 20 years ago.
And I think that part of, and I think this is a good thing about you and I, is I feel like we are open to the strangest, most unexpected curveballs and turns.
Yeah, I feel like we pivot really well when needed.
Good way to put it. And we're open to to that idea.
Yeah.
And so it's like if something came across our path, neither of us would be like, well, we can't even consider that because like we have these jobs or career or mortgage, or like we would consider anything that came across our path.
Right. The only thing that I think that you and I hold like close-handed is us, and everything else is open for discussion.
Yeah, who knows?
Our jobs, our house, our cars, our everything. Like we're just okay.
Yeah, everything else is very open-handed, and we're willing to part with it or change or whatever. So retirement, I mean, we can have ideas, which obviously we shared, but I wouldn't be surprised if our retirement looks so vastly different than what we just said.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if you would have asked us 20 years ago, we wouldn't have answered what we just did.
Right.
You know? Jeez Louise. All right, next question. And this is one I thought was interesting. Somebody asked if we'd share about my ADHD journey because the person who asked this question said they're on their own.
They're on their own journey.
They're on their own journey, yeah. It's an interesting question. So I have not officially been diagnosed with ADHD, yet almost every person I've ever talked to has been like, oh no, for sure.
And even like watching TikToks, RIP, is like.
So I was actually literally just going to say that. So part of my journey, what it has looked like, because I don't have an official diagnosis, has been a series of light bulb moments.
Yeah.
Growing up, I just thought I had quirks or tics or strange things that I did, or even like, oh, that's just a part of me that's like broken. Like that must be like my brain misfires, like there's a flaw in me, right? That kind of stuff. And I think maybe a lot of it, I mean, I don't know. I assume we all have that. And so I just kind of went through life thinking that the explanation to what I assumed was quote unquote wrong with me was just like a flaw. And going through life, I've had a number of conversations with individuals. I've watched a number of TikTok videos. I've talked with, even friends who have been diagnosed or kind of in this world, who are like, oh, that's actually not a flaw. That's actually not something that's broken. Like that's tied to this bigger thing called ADHD. And what's so interesting for me is that it's giving me answers to questions that I didn't even know to ask. There's all of these things that it's like, I just did that I was insecure about, or that I was like, I always thought was weird about me. And all of a sudden I'm learning that it's like, actually the reason you do that is because of this. And so it's giving me answers to these questions and almost like this understanding as to why.
Right.
It's been helpful. It's been comforting. It's been almost like this big breath of relief. Like, oh, it's not just that I'm like crazy,
right.
And it's like even the last few nights have been laying in bed watching TikToks preparing for its, demise potentially. And a lot of my For You page is ADHD stuff. And it's so funny because like Sherry will be laying there like next to me and somebody will be talking about like, here's things to look for if your partner has ADHD. And literally the whole list, Sherry's like, oh my God, that's my life.
Oh, that's you.
Oh, that's you. They just described you. And so part of the thing, or one of the things I want to do in 2025 is get an official diagnosis. I think that would be helpful. And then also there's the realization that there's medication that maybe can help me with that.
Right. Because I think that you have gotten really good at compensating without knowing that you're compensating.
Yeah.
And there's medication that would help you not have to compensate.
Yep.
And so...
But that's what I've always done.
That's just what you've always done, and you've gotten very good at it, but it hurts my heart a little bit knowing that you have to.
I think some of it is that I don't even know that I do it.
Yeah.
Like I was watching a video of myself recently from an event I spoke at with lots of people, and I'm noticing now these tics that I have, these things that I do, ways that I move my body, and I'm like, oh, I just always thought it's like, oh my God, I'm so like insecure about that, and I'm still insecure about it, but I now understand why I do that.
Right.
And one of the first things, and this is interesting, one of the first things that sort of was a light bulb moment for me I've done this thing for years. I don't remember doing it as a kid growing up, but I remember doing it a lot as an adult. If I'm laying on the couch, and I'm kind of like feeling a little fidgety, like I'm sort of struggling to like settle, one of the things I will do to settle myself is I'll actually like I'll put my arm, and I have it right now. I have my arm in the air, almost as if I'm asking a question at school.
Right. His hand is just up.
And like if I'm laying down on my side and I raise my hand in the air like I'm gonna ask a question, there's something like, honestly, even doing it right now, I almost feel this calming effect in my brain, and it's like it centers me almost. It's like it just like this peace, this calm. And I always just thought, I've never my whole life ever seen anybody else do this. Just randomly, it's like, yeah. And Sherry would like joking for years.
Yes, what's your
She'd
question?
like, oh yes, Adam, do you have a question? I'm like, no, I can't explain why I do this, but I just do it because I feel better when I do it.
Yeah.
And then we were talking to your cousin Abby, and she's actually been a huge help to me in understanding this world. She has ADHD and has really helped me navigate a lot of this. And just even her saying like, oh, actually, like that's a very common, and then going in and explain why. And I'm like, oh my God, that makes sense. Like I'm not just really, I mean, I am weird, but like I don't do that because of my weirdness. Like there's actual reason for why I do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's been really helpful for me. And so I feel like this path I'm on that I think will probably lead obviously to a diagnosis. I think that it has been this series of light bulbs that have gone off or gone on that have helped illuminate a space in my life that I didn't even know what was in there to see.
Yeah.
And so now I'm seeing more. I'm understanding the purpose. I'm understanding the why behind things that I do. And so I'm not, and just so you know, when I get a diagnosis, I'm 100%, I'm all in on medication. Like I know people feel differently about medication, but if there's something out there that can help my brain, not do what it always does, I would love to try that. You know,
Right.
our friend Sarah says better living through chemistry. And I think this is one of those areas that could actually really help me.
I do too, and I just think that there is medication for ADHD that helps you not have to physically compensate. And I think that is great. I think that that's something that not everybody has. There is no medication that will help me not have to compensate for EDS. And so, like, if there was, that would be fantastic. If I didn't have to walk up the stairs kind of slightly crooked because my knees will pop out, that'd be great. But there's not. So, like, I love that there is a medication that can kind of help you not have to compensate.
What has it been like for you, both watching me on this journey but also like knowing me for so long before ADHD was ever like something I thought I might even have?
I mean, I think you are who you are, and I love who you are. And so, like, you know, quirks and all the weirdness that you bring. But it does, I mean, I think, like I said, it hurts my heart a little bit knowing that there's something out there that could help you not have to compensate. And I know that you're self-conscious about some of the things that you do, and that you just can't really help it because that's just what your body does.
It's almost like that's the thing, is it's almost like my body. But you know what's interesting, and I've never even thought about this until we're having this conversation. My tics, the things that I do, my quirks, the weird things with my body, I can remember things growing up that I did that were abnormal that I no longer do. But thinking about it now, that was my brain doing its thing and my body reacting. But I just thought, oh my God, like I am the weirdest kid ever. Nobody's going to be my friend if I do that. And so I like almost like physically made myself stop doing that out of embarrassment, out of insecurity. But it's just taken a different form because like
you physically compensated.
That's exactly right. And so like now I do different things. So yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. But no, it hasn't bothered me. It's nothing wrong with you. And that's the thing is like, it's not a flaw. You're not broken. It's just, it's a piece of your brain that works differently than mine.
Yeah.
And so like, it's fine. But I do think that if there's a medication that would help that piece of your brain not have to work so hard or not have to make you physically compensate for something, that would be great.
You say that. But we were watching a video earlier today And one of the things that she was talking about is people with ADHD apparently, and I had no clue. She's like, one of the things that you see a lot is that they struggle. They'll like start something and not finish it, which I do all of the time. But she said specifically, it's not even just like big things, it's little things. She's like, they'll open a cabinet and not close the cabinet. They'll open a drawer and not close the drawer. They start this, but they don't like, it's almost like by the time your brain, or by the time it's to close the drawer, the cabinet, like your brain's already moved on and past that. Like that task is done. And that's exactly what it's like in my head, that I open a cabinet to get something out. And so then I like, pour myself a bowl of cereal, but I have done 1,000 things in my brain since I opened that cabinet drawer, and I don't even think about closing it because I'm so far past that. Like I am closing, it's not even on my radar because I'm already a million miles past that, even though I just did it 10 seconds ago.
Right. So there was a point in my life where it irritated me.
I'm sure it did. It irritates me. Just so you know.
When I walk into the kitchen and there's 4 cabinets and 3 drawers hanging open, I'm like, what in the actual hell?
Well, and
why can we, you run into the drawers? Like our kitchen is very small.
Yes.
Like you can't turn around without hitting something.
Yeah.
And so like, how do you not realize that this is open? I don't understand. And it used to irritate me. And then I did realize, like, it's just sort of who you are. And I can let it irritate me and let it erode our relationship. Or I can just realize that it's just who you are and I can close the cabinet doors.
Yes. And also.
And I will probably make fun of you while I'm closing
You
it.
Absolutely do. I also can try to, like, help my brain understand that, like, oh, we're going to open this. And so when I pour my cereal, we need to make sure we close this. But what's so confusing to me is that there'll be a lot of times I'll walk into the kitchen and I'll see like 3 drawers open and 2 cabinets open. And I'll be like, Adam, you have run like a $20 million hotel portfolio at one time. You lead like a large nonprofit. You I'll tell myself all these things that I can do. And then I'll be like, and you can also close a damn drawer. Like, I almost like have to remind myself what I'm capable of because I walk in the kitchen and I'm just like, I'm so broken. Like I can't even do
You're
this.
You're not broken.
But then I remind myself, saying, no, I can. My brain just forgot that we were supposed to.
Correct.
It's not that I can't.
Right.
It
just forgot that it needs to. And so, like, please believe that nearly every time I walk into the kitchen after you and have to close things, I'm like, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and close that for you.
Yeah, you let me know. It's always really funny.
Every single time. In our bathroom, our cabinet doors, like, every single time I walk into the bathroom, I have to close the cabinet doors.
I'm so very sorry.
Because with the cabinet door, especially in the bathroom, open, you can't get to the light switch, which means you also leave the light on.
I do. And it's really funny because, sorry, we should probably move on to the next question. But it's really funny because a lot of times you'll be like, hey, I'm going to close the cabinet door in the bathroom. And I'll be like, oh, we closed that drawer? Like, oh, we closed that? Because it's just always open. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, because I leave it open. I just assumed it was we. Somewhere along the lines, oh, we decided we're not going to close this.
No.
Nope, my brain has decided that I'm not going to close it.
Correct.
So I really appreciate that question. And I think what has been helping me is honestly just kind of talking to people who have been diagnosed, who do experience this, because it has almost helped me feel not so alone. It's brought purpose and like understanding to why I do certain things.
That you're not broken.
That I'm not broken. And even like, honestly, even like ADHD TikTok stuff or YouTube stuff, it's helping me understand me and who I am and why I do things I do. And then eventually, let's figure out ways to help, whether that's through medication or through other stuff. So love that question. And I have no problem sharing about this. So maybe in the future, we can talk more about this. I think it's something that, I don't know, I actually think more people deal with this than they realize.
Yeah, I think so too.
That we've just never really had like a language or a word for it, but now there's more attention being put on it, which I think is a good thing. All right. Next question comes from our friend Allison, and it's actually a really fun question. The question was, why are games like playing games, board games, Monopoly, board games, not like emotional games. Why are games important in relationships, like friendships and family and marriages and all of that? And I love this question because when I think back to, you guys have always heard that like old married couple and they're like, oh, let me tell you about the good old days. When I think about like our quote unquote good old days, now fortunately I feel like they've all been good days.
I agree.
But when I think back to like our starting our relationship, games played such a huge part. Like
we had no money. None of our friends had money.
So I actually think that's part of the reason. Games to me, I actually think help with contentment.
Yeah.
That like I can be with you and we can spend $0 and we can laugh and we can like have fun with friends and be together in community. And I just, to me, it's something that doesn't require money that we can still do together and actually like do something together rather than just like watching a movie where we're in the same room.
Right.
But also, Sherry, let's talk about this. Because when you play a game with people, you learn stuff about them.
You learn stuff about them. What have you learned about me?
Okay,
babes?
So you guys, there are so many things that you can love about Sherry. There's a huge list. Maybe we'll do a podcast about it
For
someday.
the most part, I'm fairly laid back. I'm pretty good with the flow.
You're very chill. You are not a high-strung
I'm pretty understanding
personality. But I learned something early on with Sherry Beth, and I learned it through games. When you play a game with Sherry, there is a different person that comes out. And it's almost like, where did this person live? Like, where did this beast come from?
Who the hell are you?
Because Sherry is so competitive.
I do get very competitive.
Yes.
Especially in games that I'm not good at.
And that's really interesting because it's not the games like in Boggle, you're not really competitive. You're just having fun.
I'm just having fun, and because that's the way my brain works, and so I'm just like writing words as quickly as I see them. In fact, there's a part of me I actually pull back a little bit.
Because you destroy me?
Because I feel bad that I'm destroying you so bad.
That makes sense.
And so I actually don't, like, but when I'm playing with, like, my mom, whose brain works the same way, like, she and I just go when we're playing Boggle. But, like, with you, I know, like, that's not how your brain works, and I feel bad that I'm just, like, I've written 8 words and you've written 1, and so I'm like, well, I'm gonna pretend to look for words for a little bit.
So where does the competitiveness come from?
It's when I'm losing. I hate losing.
And
I hate not being good at things.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think that's a big part of this.
I'm not built to not be good at things.
Yeah, and because you're a perfectionist?
Because I'm a perfectionist. And even like growing up, like I don't remember learning how to walk. I don't remember being potty trained, but like my parents have told me these stories. Like I never really like took a few steps and fell and crawled, and like took a few steps and fell. Like I just like got up and walked one day. Like I was a little bit delayed maybe because I'm an observer. And I will watch and be like, I can do that. And then I'll get up and do it.
Yeah.
Same thing with potty training. There was never like a training. It was just like, I am now potty trained. Like there was never like this miss. And that's how I've been my entire life. If I don't pick it up immediately, I don't do it at all because I'm not good at not being good at something.
And it's the kind of thing that apart from playing games and like watching what happens in Sherry when like we're playing Monopoly and I've built a hotel on Park Place and she lands on it and you look up and your eyes lock and you realize, oh, like we are in love, but she might
does not like me right now.
She might choke me out. like I'm about to get.
You're sleeping in the car.
Yeah. I think that there's something that you learn in the context of games.
Yeah.
Both in competition as well as like how I don't say like how ruthless somebody is. Because like there are some people with games where it's like it doesn't matter if you're playing with a 5-year-old or a 95-year-old. It's like I'm here to crush you. Right. Like there's no mercy.
You will die.
Yeah, sorry, grandma. Like I'm gonna destroy you.
Sorry, 5-year-old.
I just think that like you learn so much about people when you're playing games and like a wide variety of games, because the you that comes out when we play Boggle is different than the you that comes out if we play Yahtzee or Monopoly or even like a game that is new to you that you're just learning.
Yeah.
What have you learned about me from games? Anything?
I don't know, because I feel like you're kind of, well, no, I was going to say you're kind of the same person, but you're not.
Maybe I should not have asked this question.
Your assholery comes out more, I think, when It's
when I'm
not
winning?
always. It's there beneath the surface, fairly consistently. But like you're pretty good about not just being an asshole in general.
Yes,
but,
thank you. What a compliment.
Yeah. But when games come out, like when we were playing, when I was the first time we played Quiddler with Allison, and I lost horribly. Like in one round, I had to lose 44 points.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I hate this game. I never want to play it again. I'm done. And you were like, oh, that's really sad. Oh, maybe next time you should not do that.
Yeah,
and
it's
like,
like,
you're like your asshole comes out, and I'm like, I don't like you.
Oh, have you
Or this game.
Oh, have you considered not being terrible at this game? It's things like that I'll say because like it is.
Because it just pisses me off more.
That's exactly what it is. I get a response out of you because I know you're so competitive, and I just I watch flames form in your eyes like a cartoon. Oh yeah, that's true. I would, you know the word I'd use? My smugness.
Ugh.
I get smug when
I just want to punch it right off your face.
I have seen that look
with like knifed muckles.
And
Muckles?
Knuckles. Knifed muckles. Good old pair of knifed muckles.
Shut up.
See? Now I want to spend the rest of the podcast mocking you for saying that. We're not going to though.
We're not going to.
But this is the thing.
But that's the thing. It's like, so, I mean, like I said, for the most part, like I feel like you have this smug kind of asshole thing like beneath the surface. It's sort of there, and like it comes out in like little spurts here and there. But like when we're playing games, especially if you have the upper hand,
Yes.
it's full force.
Yeah.
Zero filter.
Now, that being said, I don't do that with people I don't know.
Correct.
So if we're with our friends and I know that I can get a rise out of them, I will do that. And if I know them, if it's like a game night with people that I just met, I will be very like middle of the road. Because what I don't want to do is like actually offend somebody or hurt them.
Right.
And some people can take that, and like I think it's hilarious because I know you can take it, but I know it gets such a response. That's why I love doing it.
I'm the same way though. Like I'm not big on playing games with people I don't know.
Because
honestly.
of this reason.
Probably, but also I feel like there's a thing about playing games that is like a level of intimacy, I guess.
Oh, interesting.
That I don't, because it does take me a while to warm up to people. Like I'm not ever like immediately, you're my best friend. Like that's just not who I am.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's who you are.
Yes. I've never met somebody who's not my best friend.
Correct. But like it takes a while for me to like warm up to people enough to like show them really me, I think. And so I don't really like playing games with people I've just met in general, but also if we are playing some kind of game with people I've just met, I will be very mellow.
Yes. You tone back your competitiveness.
Yep.
You don't let it out.
Right.
Yet if it's with me, I get the death stares.
Absolutely. You deserve every one of them.
With the knifed muckles.
I'm going to punch you in your throat.
My question, though, is will you use knifed muckles?
Probably. Directly in the jugular.
Oh my gosh. So yes, I actually think games are very important.
Yeah.
To me, I would put that on there. I think there are things that as you're meeting somebody, especially if it's like a romantic relationship, I think there's some things you need to do together. I think playing games, I think going on a road trip, because you learn a lot about somebody when you travel together. And you have to ask the question, I was like, oh my God, like, I don't want to have, you mean every road trip the rest of my life will be like this? Absolutely not.
Right.
Like, you learn things about people.
Traveling through airports and stuff with people. Like,
yeah, you just learn about them.
I think it's very important.
And it gives you the opportunity to say, like, actually, like, there's some things that I'm seeing that I really don't want.
Maybe we should just be friends.
Yeah.
Maybe this romantic relationship should not move forward.
Yeah. I don't want to be at the receiving end of your knifed muckles. Okay, let's move on to the next question.
My God.
I love you.
No.
Yes, I do. You're very pretty. You are very pretty, though. Okay, this is the last question, Sherry.
Okay.
This was a good one. I don't know that we've gotten.
This was a good one.
I don't know if we've gotten this one before. Our friend Aaron asked this. Favorite stores or brands that have gone out of business?
Yeah.
Boy,
it was not hard to come up with this list.
No, this was very easy.
It was like less than 5 minutes.
In fact, if we sat down and really thought, I'm sure we could come up with way more.
Yeah.
This is just top of the mind list.
Yeah.
And there's a couple stores on here that maybe are big ones that aren't on. We'll talk about it at the end. But here's the ones that we just quickly came up with. Borders, Books, and Music.
Borders. I freaking love Borders.
We had a great Borders, Books, and Music here in Anchorage.
Yes, we did.
It was right off of Diamond, which is a popular road here in town. And you know what I remember most about Borders?
What?
It's not their books. It's not their music. They had a cafe.
Yeah.
Do you remember the drinks? They would have like shaved white chocolate on top.
Yes, they would.
On top of whipped cream.
Oh my God.
I just remember going there in the winter and getting like a hot coffee or a hot chocolate, and it would have that like shaved white chocolate on top, and it just being so delicious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, I miss Borders.
I really do.
I mean,
It was 2 stories. It was a huge store. It was fantastic.
realistically, Barnes and Noble's very similar to what Borders was. But I think I like Borders better.
I think I might, yeah.
So
I know.
that was one
Hard
of them.
to say, but oof.
That was one of them for us.
Yep.
Now, on our list, we did include both like national chains as well as some local restaurant or like local businesses.
Places that we just had here that closed that were still devastated.
All right. At the top of our list is a place called Perfect Cup. Sherry, tell me about it.
It's in the mall.
Yep.
It was right down the hall from the movie theater. It was one of our favorite places to go for like lunch or a random dinner or anytime we were going to a movie, we would go there first. They had sandwiches and soups and coffee and whatever. The best, hands down, I have yet to find anything even remotely close, the best chicken salad sandwich I've ever had in my life.
That is what you would get. What percentage of the time we would go there?
99.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, like, I only remember even a couple times.
I think a couple of times I was like, I should probably try something else. And so I did. But like, oh man, I would get the chicken salad sandwich and like some kind of soup. They always had like a soup of the day. And then they always had like all these other different kinds of soups that were just kind of on rotation. They had a beer cheese soup.
Yes,
that was
they did.
So good. Oh man, I miss Perfect Cup.
Yeah, I
was so sad when they closed.
I always got the sandwich. It was turkey, cream cheese, and cranberry sauce, and I just miss it so much. And while I miss Perfect Cup, I miss kind of the role that it played in our life because exactly what you said. Every movie we'd go to at the Diamond Center, if it was like after work, we'd do dinner at Perfect Cup.
Yep.
Because it was cheap, it was quick.
Right down the hall from
the movie theater, and we would then go to a movie.
And now it's like, what are we gonna do for dinner now if we would go see a movie? It's like I have to figure it out now.
Man, I miss Perfect Cup.
Oh man.
The next one, Blockbuster Video.
Blockbuster Video. Oh my gosh, I do miss the nostalgia, and I equate it to a bookstore.
Okay.
I love going to bookstores and just browsing. Even if I don't actually buy a book, I just like being in the environment. I will probably come away with a book or two.
Shocking.
I know. I just loved going to Blockbuster. We had one right across the street from my college. And so, like, we would go there all the time, me and my friends, and, like, rent movies and bring them back to our dorm room. And we had, like, a common room that we would just, like, watch all together. It was so fun just like browsing all of the shelves and like what do we feel like watching and like reading the backs and I don't know. And you brought up something that was always like, oh dang it, like when you'd go ahead.
The heartbreaking moment.
Yeah.
Because and not every video store was the same, but a lot of them were this way where it's like, they had VHSs on the shelves
or DVDs.
So they'd have okay, youngin'. Back in my day, it's like you'd go in and they'd have like the VHS box, the DVD box, like for all the movies they had. But then if the movie was in stock, like if they had it available to rent, they would have like the Blockbuster box behind the movie box.
Right.
So you'd like see the movie on the shelf, you're like, yes, they've got it. And then you'd go there and you'd realize it was checked out. They didn't have a copy behind the box. And it was just that like sinking moment of like,
oh man.
No, because it's almost like seeing the front of the box made you want to watch the movie even more.
Yeah.
And then they don't have it.
They didn't have it.
Oh, it's like, what do you mean I can't rent Little Giants?
Again.
I can't rent Little Giants again?
Oh, that was so great. And this was some of the young people are like, "What? I don't understand. Why did you have to rent movies?" It's because we didn't have streaming services.
Yeah, that
wasn't a thing.
we had to do two things. We had to be kind and rewind.
Both.
Remember that?
I do. And do you remember Netflix when it first came out? It was
Like by mail.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like you would go online and you would pick whatever movie you wanted to rent and they would mail it to you. You would watch it and then you would mail it back. Like when Netflix became a streaming thing, we were always like, wait, what?
That's not going to work.
I don't understand.
Just mail me my movies.
Please just mail me my movie.
Yeah, it's so funny. I love the convenience of streaming services.
Yeah.
But I miss that nostalgia. I
too.
miss the browsing of a movie store.
It was a whole evening because like in high school and college and when I first moved up here, that was part of it. Like we would go to Blockbuster, we would go to whatever local like movie store and we would browse and we'd talk about what we feel like watching and probably pick something up for dinner on the way home and then we'd watch the movie and it was like this whole thing and now it's just like you're just browsing through streaming services.
Yeah, I do miss that.
It's just not the same.
Blockbuster is for sure one that I miss. The next one was one that you had mentioned that I honestly had kind of thought of.
Sam Goody.
Okay, so Sam Goody, and we had another one here in Anchorage called Musicland. Basically, very similar to what we've been talking about, except music.
Music.
CDs, cassettes.
Yep. To buy.
Yep, to buy.
But that's all it was music. And so you would go through and CDs and cassette tapes and records and it was all just music in rows and rows and rows. And so you would like browse through and find whatever you felt like listening to.
Hi, do you have the latest Boys to Men CD? I'm here for...
Do you have the new Shania Twain?
Do you have the new All for One CD? Just like it was those kind of like... It was nostalgic growing up, and I remember.
That's where you bought your music.
It's probably very similar to the loss of Blockbuster. That there's what we lost was an experience
because now you just go on iTunes and just buy whatever song or album you want.
Gosh.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not the experience anymore.
It's not the experience. The next one is another local restaurant. This very close to Perfect Cup.
In a different way.
This is a restaurant called Villanova here in Anchorage. It was a restaurant here in Anchorage, an Italian restaurant actually owned by a friend of ours. He was the head chef, started it. And George was just a dear family friend of ours. And they had, well, first of all of the food was amazing. The calamari was spectacular.
Oh my gosh, yes.
They had a pepper steak that, in my opinion, one of the best steaks in Alaska. And just the whole experience. Their cream spinach, which was a side. I mean, it was. We spent so many of our early dates there. I feel like that was like our go-to date night place for like.
It was a nice Italian restaurant. We could dress up a little bit fancy.
Yes.
Yep.
But in typical Anchorage fashion, it was in a strip mall.
Right.
Yet
a hole in the wall kind of place.
Yet it was so good.
It was so good.
And again, and this is interesting. Villanova, the food was amazing, but it was always the experience.
It was the atmosphere and the
and
servers
seeing
George and yep.
Man.
Yeah.
I miss Villanova.
Me too.
All right. The next one, I think on this whole list, the next one is the biggest. It's the national chain that we are the most surprised doesn't exist anymore.
Yep.
Because it's one that we went to just so often.
All the time.
And so many times since it has closed, we've been like, dang it, why don't we still have this? Because this is where we would go for this.
Right. Now I don't even know where to go for this stuff.
What is it?
Bed Bath & Beyond.
Bed Bath & Beyond.
Every home item you needed was at Bed Bath & Beyond. And I don't understand how it went out of business because who wasn't just going to Bed Bath & Beyond for everything?
So
you need a towel, you go to Bed Bath & Beyond. You need a spoon, you go to Bed Bath & Beyond. You need an air fryer.
Air fryer?
You need shelving for your shoes, you go to Bed Bath & Beyond. Like I don't understand how it went away.
So I think Bed Bath & Beyond is a Amazon.
Yeah.
Death. Because all of that stuff you can now I need a spatula, Amazon. I need this, Amazon. But we loved going to Bed Bath & Beyond. And now there have been so many times that we've needed something for the home or something little or like new hangers or something. It's like, oh, where do we go? Where do you even buy this? And it's like, oh, well, Amazon.
And I hated loved that there was like one path through the store. So to get anything like near the registers, you had to walk through the entire store.
Yes.
All the way back around the back and the sides, and then you had to walk through everything just to get to the one thing you needed. That was smart.
I loved it.
I did too. I miss it.
So do I. I wish it was here. And in a similar vein, the next one is, I don't know, maybe
more me.
It's more you, but it's kind of a similar store.
Yeah.
A little bit.
A little bit. It was Pier 1. I miss Pier 1. I could never afford to buy anything in Pier 1, which is probably why they went out of business. But
probably.
Because it said that it was for like the everyman. It wasn't. It was for rich people because I could not afford anything in there. But I loved the way it smelled. I loved walking through. It gave me ideas for like interesting ways to store things or ways to decorate my house in a cheaper way. Like I would go find something similar in a cheaper place, which is probably again why they went out of business. But like I loved Pier 1.
The style of Pier 1 was very you.
Yeah.
It was a great place. Like, I feel like gift buying for Sherry at Pier 1 was very easy because most of what Pier 1 had, you would have liked.
Literally just walk in and pick the first thing you see, and I'm gonna love it.
But that is part of the problem is that I feel like I could think of a handful of things we ever bought there just because of cost. Like, we bought stuff on clearance there.
Yeah, I would love the clearance because I could actually afford it. But like, I don't think I ever bought anything full price at Pier 1.
Did you ever have a Pier 1 Papa San chair? Because when I think of Pier 1...
I wanted one so bad.
You never had one?
No, I had one. Afford it.
I had one, but I bought it used.
Yeah.
Off of probably Craigslist. Because it was before Facebook Marketplace, let's be honest.
I always wanted a Papa San chair. They're so comfortable for me. And I could never afford it.
I wonder if we could find one. If we could still find a Papa San chair,
maybe
we should have this discussion post podcast. So Pier 1 is one for you, and then we have one more on our list. One more store. Now this is a store not for us.
Not for us, but that we spent so much time and money in.
We spent a lot of money here. This one, Toys R Us.
Toys R Us.
Now we don't have kids, but almost all of our friends have kids, and so we are aunt and uncle to a butt ton of children.
Yep.
And so we have been to so many kids' birthday parties, and we always feel pressure to do really good on gifts. And Toys R Us
because we're the aunt and uncle that don't have kids.
We don't have kids.
So of course, we're going to get them the best gift.
Well, and you know what's really funny is that we recently reconnected to some friends of ours that we knew 18 years ago before they had kids.
Yeah.
And we were in their kids' lives for a lot of their early developmental kind of years.
Changed their diapers and all of the things.
And,
well, you never did.
No, I never did. And one of the years, because for me, I was like, I want to get them gifts that like I would have wanted as a kid that maybe parents won't buy. And so as the two boys, as they were growing up, I think it was a birthday or Christmas one year.
I think Christmas.
We bought them Hulk hands. I bought them Hulk hands so they could just wail on each other. I was like, what do boys want? They want to fight. And so I got them Hulk hands.
And our friend actually brought that up when we were over there for dinner.
Yeah, they're like, remember the Hulk hands? And then it was funny because they asked the boys, they're like, oh yeah. They're like, wait, you got those? Like,
we love those.
We love those. We beat each other. I was like, I know. That's why I got them for you. But it's like,
man.
Toys R Us was the best because if you had anything to do with kids or a party or gifts, there was never a need for a second stop.
No. It was so great.
It was there. And now I feel like, well, we'll go to Target. Maybe we'll find something. We'll go to Fred Meyer. Maybe we'll find something. I just feel like
there's not like a good dedicated. I mean, we have a few like local kind of toy shops, but it's not like Toys R Us.
I miss that.
I do too.
So you guys.
I mean, granted, again, like the kids that we were buying the Hulk hands for were much younger. They're now 16 and 18 years old.
Yeah, we would have very little reason to go to Toys R Us today.
Yeah.
And again, Toys R Us probably like an Amazon death.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I wanted Hulk hands today, I'd go to Amazon. I'd type in Hulk hands.
Yeah.
Which is in some ways very sad. And this is not a question, but this is part of the conflictedness I feel, where I love the convenience of Amazon. I love the price of Amazon. But like we just made a list of things that we really miss that are tied to like that Amazon's partly responsible for the death of.
Yeah.
And so I'm conflicted in that.
Honestly, Borders, same thing.
Borders, same thing.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's like, man, where is the balance between that kind of stuff? So I don't know. There's a little self-reflection question.
Yeah, I mean, I do love the advancement of technology, but there is some loss in not being able to go to a video store and pick out a video to watch for that evening
An app,
together.
yeah, the app kills the experience.
Yeah.
And it was the experience in so much of the stuff that we loved.
Yeah.
I can get a book easier, but you know what? I can't get that. I can't get that coffee with the white chocolate shavings on top.
Right.
You know, I can't pick out a movie and be like, you know what? I am gonna rent Sandlot for the 8th week in a row. You know, yes, I think I will do that.
Shrek.
You know, I think that like convenience sometimes kills experience, but experience is where like so many memories are.
Yeah.
I have 0 memories of any of the hundreds of items I've ordered off of Amazon where it's like, oh, that was a great buying experience. No, it's literally all the same. Whereas,
Same thing with like streaming movies. Like we've streamed hundreds of movies together and watched them, but like the experience of picking out which movie was not an experience. It was
Yeah.
just like browsing through an app.
so I think my takeaway from kind of this list is like, man, the value of experience. What I miss most about those stores was that.
Yeah.
So I do want to thank you guys because all of these questions came from you.
Yeah.
This was a good list.
And we are going to do a deep dive into EDS and what it means for me and for you and for our life together and travel and all of the things.
Probably won't be the next episode because the
Yeah.
next one's 150. We need to do something, I don't know,
Special.
super special. Who knows what it'll be. Maybe Sherry will punch me with her knife knuckles. But I don't know. We'll decide. The look I am getting out of the corner of my eye right now is like she is shooting daggers at me. I love you. I do love you.
I know.
I know. So here, out of all these questions, here's the thing I want to know from you guys. We're going to stick on this last one. Favorite store or brand that went out of business?
Yeah.
It could be something locally that you loved, like for us, Perfect Cup or Villanova. It could be a national store. You know what I thought was interesting? We didn't even consider Kmart because I don't miss Kmart at all. Isn't that interesting?
I mean, because it's the exact same thing as Walmart and
Yeah.
Fred Meyer and Target. They're all the same thing. And so
Yeah.
I don't miss Kmart because it was just one more thing of the exact same.
Because we still have that option.
They still have the same
That
thing.
makes sense. But I want to know from all of you guys, what is the store or brand that has closed down or gone out of business that you miss the most? And the way you let us know is you head over to YouTube, you search LeggLife Podcast, click the subscribe button. I think on YouTube, over like 1,020 of you guys have now subscribed to us there, which is cool because like YouTube's, like most of you are listening to us right now on Apple or Spotify or iHeartRadio or one of those apps. But like there's a few hundred of you guys that listen to us on YouTube, and I think it's just so cool. So go to YouTube, find this episode, episode 149, and let us know in the comments of this video, favorite store or brand that went out of business. Why do you miss it? Is it because of the experience, the nostalgia? Is it because of a product like the chicken salad sandwich that Sherry... I know, I'm so sorry.
I've tried to remake it and
We can't?
I can't.
Can't do it?
I don't know what they put in it, but I don't have any of those ingredients.
We would pay large amounts of money if we could get our hands on that recipe book.
Absolutely.
Friends, we love you. We're so thankful for you. Thanks for, again, for such great questions.
Yeah.
And we will see you on the next LeggLife podcast, which is going to be the 150th episode.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
All right, friends. We'll see you
All right.
then. Bye.
Bye.